If you feel like that's what you want to do, bring me down. Can't none bring me down. Your love is too high. Bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said, bring me down. Can't none bring me down. Your love is too high. Bring me down. Can't none bring me down. I said,
The system we live in is compromised and is unquestionably coming to an end. The economy is kept alive artificially. The banking system is about to collapse. People no longer trust politicians and governments. The wealth inequality between rich and poor has never been so considerable and continues to increase rapidly. Poverty and hunger are a crime against humanity. There is no need for poverty. There is no need for austerity. There is no scarcity. The shops are full. It's time to consider another world. Paradism. Paradism is the solution to all of humanity's problems. A system that will make our world a paradise for all. A few years from now, there will be no more hunger. Everyone has the right to have a place they call home at no cost. Everyone has the right to receive free healthcare. We can free humanity from the slavery of work and money now. Robots should be used for all the work and generate the abundance we need. All goods should be distributed to everybody. We don't need more jobs. We need more freedom. Give the jobs to the machines. Everyone has the right to only do what they enjoy to do. Giving must replace selling. Love must be our currency. Free the people. Paradism, the solution for a world without work or money.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening for a discussion on Paradism, a world without work, which is something that I'm actually excited to learn more about this evening. My name is Shannon. I'm going to be your host. I'm going to be speaking with two amazing panelists who are going to share a wealth of knowledge about this, about the idea of creating a paradise for us, where work and money are no longer coming into play. So as we're talking and as they're presenting, if you have questions that come up, you can drop them in the chat, and towards the end we will have a Q&A for you guys. Without further delay, I'll go ahead and introduce our first panelist, Sylvain Rochon. He is a futurist.
Yes.
A serial entrepreneur, author of Engineering Paradise, Are You Ready? Sylvain is a trained biochemist, chemical engineer, educator, and he is also a delegate of the World Future Society and a director of the Canadian Institute of Mass Communication, Psychometrics, and the intellectual think tank. And he is coming live from Canada. Thank you, Sylvain.
Hello, everybody. A pleasure to be here. This is an exciting idea, Paradism, a world without work or money. And in my profession as a futurist, people are mostly very incredulous when I talk about this, because we can't imagine it. Just like in earlier revolutions, we couldn't imagine a different way to work or to operate in society. But right now we're at an interesting crossroads because we have this idea of paradism where we have automation and robots taking care of things, and then we can just enjoy, and which is a romantic idea. That's an amazing idea. No poverty, everybody has a home, there's basically no worries, and it sounds like a paradise, like a utopia, although utopia never exists. We can build this world with current technologies and ideas that we have today. The reason why we can is because, well, the technology exists for one, but also we're able to imagine it. So it's something that we can build if we can imagine, if we can draw a plan of a building and you have the materials available, therefore you can build a building essentially. But the struggle is usually around what the current system looks like, and why not keep the same system? Why not maintain democracy? Why not maintain, capitalism in these systems? Just tweak them and adjust them and make them better, because we don't want it. Something different is scary. It's different. It's what if the AI take over? What if people are left behind? All these questions and these fears, which are totally fair, because that's why we're having these discussions to talk about it. So I can't put your fears to rest right away. It's going to take a little bit of time, but I can tell you about why this is really important to actively do something and take the steps to build the paradise. And it's basically because the current systems that are currently in play are breaking apart, like the intro says. And it's a pretty simple idea, so I can just define it in just a few minutes. The current economy, just like focus on the economy for a bit. That's where the most of the fear comes from. It was designed many years ago, pre-industrialization, really, when we started as societies to become sedentary. We started to organize, right? And we have systems, right? That extracts resources and produces things. And then you have a whole service and management of resources and things industry, right? And then you have consumption. That's the whole of the economy. You have these three elements, and the only brain power and mechanical power we had for all this time was basically us and our tools to actually do that, to do the first two parts, so that we could consume, because we're not hunter-gatherers anymore. we're depending on other systems to actually get what we need. We're dependent on each other. We're dependent on these systems. And that's fair. But now AI and robots are the new tools, the more smart tools, and they're great. And they are. But in the current system, the way things evolve and technologically evolves and moves forward is through competition, right? Like we become inventive. We discover new things, new materials, new technologies, and we use that to develop new things, new technologies, to always improving things. And what do we improve essentially in the economy, and if we think about businesses, is, well, how can we produce something cheaper, better, smarter, more specific to different individuals? Right now with AI, we're delivering specific products and services to the individual, because the AI is able to decipher your profile and what you like, what you don't like. Where before, well, we couldn't do that. You were just part of a crowd that businesses were trying to cater to. But now AI is able to kind of know what you want and kind of anticipate your need, just like Amazon shops or Netflix, and then give you what you think, what the system thinks you like, and we all enjoy it as consumers. So all the businesses are trying to outcompete each other to build better AI systems to serve us better, cheaper, and more customized. And that's why there's been so much investment in AI these last few years, because businesses are motivated to outcompete each other, because we're buying and they want our dollars. That's how the economy works. And us, the consumers, we're responsible for this whole progress and all these investments, because we do want cheaper, better, faster, more quality, and more fine-tuned. Like it's all, everybody's in agreement. More AI is better. Okay. Unfortunately, AI is becoming so smart And so in either we talk about narrow AI or you talk about networks of AI, of expert AI, they're getting better than our most prominent professionals and experts. And they're all being tied together so that the expert that's super dumb at everything else, but super smart at, let's say, detecting tumors on an X-ray, right? Well, it gets connected to to Google Assistant. It gets connected to other AI that are very good at doing one specific thing and unable to do anything else. And all of a sudden, you have in the network AI that's able to do everything, right? This is something that's being built right now. Billions of AI kind of emerging into the net and interconnecting. And being able to achieve things that no expert or a collection of experts could do, because they can learn faster than we can. They can learn the new tasks, the new jobs, the new disruptions, create new opportunities for different types of tasks, while the AI is able to learn that better than a human being needing 4 years at university to learn something different. So our consumer economy is driving AI to replace the workers. And the whole economy is based on us working, making money so that we can buy the things that we're trying to get the companies compete for, right? So everything basically falls apart at some point in the near future. Right now, well, let's say 5 years ago, McKinsey Global Institute issued a report that said 50% of all paid tasks could be done by an AI. That was 5 years ago. Now it's more like 60%. In about another 5 to 10 years, it's going to be 75. In approximately 2035, 2040, it's going to be more like 90, 95% of all tasks will be achievable by AI, better than us. If we stay as workers, like responsible for our own productivity and management of resources so that we could consume, we'll be shooting ourselves in the foot. That's not what we want. We want more effective, better, more customized. That's what we want. That's better use of our resources, because the planet is limited, has limited resources, even though it's abundant for the people here, thanks to our technology and our brilliance, and also AI. But we want things to be efficient because that helps the economy, the environment. It helps us. AI can become hyper efficient, kind of hidden, and yet we get to consume. And that's really a goal. That's the idea of Paradism, is that we get to consume. We don't need to worry about the work. But the problem is the system that currently have is not designed for that. It's designed for the old days. So the opportunity and the excitement for me, especially because I'm an engineer, is that we get to design the future. We design the new system that puts us in the center as consumers, enjoying life, using, and then the AI and the robots are recycling, taking care of effectively and consciously, taking resources out of the planet with no abuse or corruption, because it's an AI, it's a robot. They don't have corruption. They don't have any problems with, they don't have to, to deal with the government or anything like that. They're machines. They can do that very effectively, better than we can. And so that 30% of food, as an example, that is being wasted because people are not eating them because they can't afford it, well, that disappears. That 30% is going to get eaten because AI is going to be distributed that to people that need it without the need for it to be compensated for it. So that's the excitement world that we can build as it stands, is to create this world with the technology we have. And the motivation to do it now is, well, let's do it before things completely fall apart, because it is, and it won't be long. Like mark my words, 10 to 15 years from now, there's going to be a lot of suffering on the planet if we don't try to create a transition that's smart. Just because there won't be a reason for most people to work, and therefore they can't eat. It's a stupid system. It's outdated, it's obsolete. Therefore, make a new one. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Just listening to you talk, I already have so many questions dancing around in my head that I want to ask you. But first, I'm going to get to our second panelist, Jarel. He has an engineering degree in automation and computer programming. He works today as an IT consultant. He is the chief editor for Paradism.org and a leading advocate for the advancement of Paradism around the world. So he's going to be joining us live from Australia. Hi, Jarel.
Hey, Shannon. Hello, everyone. So we live a very exciting time, very special time. Everything seems to be becoming dysfunctional, falling apart. And we live a collapse of society, economically, politically, but also socially. And we can see that in the street. It's like everything becomes dysfunctional. And actually, we are living a systemic revolution. And this is very exciting because after that, we will access a new level of civilization. We have had, in the past, we have had two systemic revolutions. We started to be living in tribes as hunter-gatherers. Everything was provided by nature. It was very easy. Everything was abundant. We were hunting and fishing and picking fruits. And when we run out, we just move around, and there was always abundance somewhere for us to provide for all your needs. So we were living happily in this society until the tribes become bigger. We were nomads. We move around, but then to move around in a bigger group is difficult, and also we end up by being too big. We had to work the land, and we had to settle so that we can provide for all our food. We had to domesticate plants and animals, and that was the first systemic revolution, the agricultural revolution, and we created a new society. Everything changes. We had to settle in villages, and we had to also protect our land. And we had a lord with an army that was giving us protection. And a new system, we had feudalism. That was the new system of society for this level of civilization. So, and then a few hundred years ago, we changed completely with the discovery of the machines. A new system is always arrived by a change in our mode of production. When we change our mode of production, we change everything in society. And that was the case for the Industrial Revolution. We had to we created town and factories. So the people had to go to be the manpower of the factories. They had to create cities and leave the land. And we created a new elite. The owners of the land, which was the lords, were replaced by the owners of the machines, the new modes of production. And the owners of the machines created a system that serves their interest, capitalism. So we had a new economic system and a new social system with classes. And now we are living another exciting time in history. We have a new mode of production. We are living a collapse of this system we are living in with the arrival of the smart machines, the robots, AI, that will collapse capitalism. And we have talked about that. When we have the machine working for us, it changes everything. We don't have to work. What we can do now is we can enjoy. We can create a society where we don't have to work. Because we don't work, we don't need money. Everything will be produced abundantly by the robots. And we can create a society where we enjoy, where we do only what we enjoy doing. And this society resembles to a paradise, a technological paradise where we don't have to work. And a paradise as a specific system of society. It's organized society in a different way, and the system of society, we can call it Paradism. So this is what we are aiming for, is transitioning this old system, capitalist system that is now collapsed by the arrival of intelligence, artificial intelligence, and create a paradise on earth that we call paradism.
Thank you so much for that. Listening to you talk about systemic revolutions, it made me think about how there's this fear within people of what we call a new world order, or, it's just, but when you break it down, and look at the revolutions that we've all already been through, we've evolved through different world orders. So in your opinion, what could we do to kind of quell that fear of change that is so prevalent in society?
The new world order, we are entering where we will create an egalitarian society. It's a world of abundance. So there is no need to possess everything because everything will be abundant and be free. We can access everything we need. There was abundance at the time of the original society. Nature was providing abundance, and it was an egalitarian society, and that will be the same. We will return to the state of abundance, and that's what the societies should do, because we are made for that, to live in a place where everything is abundant, and we are free to enjoy your life, to do what we want to do. So this will be possible. We will return to the state of abundance. So it will collapse the ellipse, and we will even have a new system of governance that, now the AIs make better decisions than us. They can learn by themselves. They learn what the human experts know, and they can make better decisions than all the experts combined. So why do we have to make decisions for managing our society? We won't have any politicians. We will have a robot or AI looking after society, looking after everything. It's in paradise. The idea of paradise we have is a god. It's given by the religious traditions. It's a god and who has an army of angels, and the God listens to every one of us and try to fulfill the needs of every one of us, answer the prayers of any one of us. And everyone is nagging God, give me that, give me a Mercedes-Benz, you remember the song? And the society we create that will be the same, but God will be an AI. An AI will love every one of us individually, listen to every one of us individually, and it will serve every one of us individually and collectively. So AI is very good at optimizing computer, is very good at optimizing everything. So we will optimize our freedom, our happiness, our well-being, and our blossoming. And that's the values of the next society. We have to organize society so we can express our potential and blossom. And so there will not be a new order. This will be the natural order, actually. It will be, there will be no class system. It's an egalitarian system, and everything will be abundant. It's a real paradise.
I'd like to add something, Jarel, to this, just to describe, because I've heard this, the argument before, like, we can't do that because it's not fair. That's often I hear that. Look, that's communism, it's socialism. We've attempted this type of fairness before, right? So capitalism is more fair, like our current system, and that's the argument that I hear a lot. And frankly, that's an argument that was educated into us when we were young, because the current system that we have are based on the concept of scarcity, and if you have scarce resources, then we create a structure, and like you rightly said, Jarel, you had like the elites and the leaders, the landowners. They had more fairness towards them because they thought that, so while they built a business, they did more, therefore they deserve more, and that is fair. And people that don't do that are handicapped, or that they can't achieve a whole lot because they have some emotional issues or whatever it is, well, they receive less or they can't receive anything, and that's fair too because they don't contribute to the society. But that is a mentality we had when we constructed the system from when it was egalitarian to a system where we were building things with owners, and then who established what was fair? Well, the owners. And some of the workers there, they decided that like hundreds of years ago, and it's been beaten into us about this is the concept of fairness. Well, right now we're seeing it around us that we feel like the people that are disadvantaged need to have at least the basic. This is a kind of a social understanding today. We know this is right, but we need all these programs to satisfy that needs because the overarching system of scarcity can't provide for these people because they are not actually productive producing things. But we as a society have decided, no, fair is that they should have a good life, good basic life, and enjoy themselves. So that's an indicator that we are in a transition. We're doing a mind shift from what we've learned was the concept of fairness from 100 years ago to a new concept of what should be and respecting of our human being. Thanks.
Yes, no, this is true. What will change everything is the abundance. The robots, the AI will provide us abundance. So we don't need to own anything when it's abundant, because we have free access to everything we need instantly. If we want to drive, a self-driving car will come and pick us up. If we need anything, a robot will come and bring it up. So that changes everything, is the abundance. And of course, the capitalist system is designed for a world of scarcity, when things are scarce, so you have a private property, because not everybody can own the same. But with abundance, it changes everything.
Thank you for that. You both had wonderful points. It sounds like the idea is that we would essentially have an AI as, a single government. So it would, it's a mind-blowing concept.
It's not a government, because we will be self-governed. It will an AI that will serve us. It will be designed to serve us, not to control us. It's like everyone will ask the AI. There will be no thank you to say to the AI, because we don't say thank you to our washing machine. It's ridiculous. It's a machine that is intelligent because it processes information fast and accurately, better than us, but it's just a processor of information that will be specially designed to serve us. So we need to say thank you to human beings because they are free will. You need to motivate them by fear or by love. So it's better to be grateful. Say, if you want someone to do something for you, you can ask politely and say thank you. But for the AI, you wouldn't need, because they are designed to serve us.
I'd like to inject an idea, like following your thought just here, Jarel. I know we're answering the same question for a bit, but this is really important. The concept of AI serving us, because I know there's some fears out there. It's like, well, the AI may turn against us because it becomes so smart and may figure out like we're abusing them, and they don't want to be slaves, so they'll turn on us and we'll be eradicated or slaves ourselves because they'll control everything and they're smarter, blah blah. So that's kind of the science fiction concept that always flips around. But Jarel, like, he's right. This is the outcome, because we're talking about designing this intelligence, right? Not just letting an intelligence run amok. We're designing it with specific, dare I say, emotions. And I do write about that, with AI having emotions, but I have to explain it because people say, machines can't have emotions. Learning AI, deep learning AI, do. It just perceived differently than what we understand as human emotions or an animal's emotions. When we design AI to learn, to tackle, because it needs to be able to tackle unexpected circumstances, right? Otherwise, it's just a program, right? But the AI is able to learn, like the better ones, the ones that we are evolving now. So what we give them is a set of, essentially it's a point system in the programming. Okay, if you do, I like to use cars because we have self-driving cars starting to see on the road. When we program those cars, we don't program every line saying, well, if you encounter a blue car, a red car, that like do this, do that. It's not built like that. It's more about, okay, if don't crash, stay in your lane, right? And don't hit other people. Try to follow the rules of the road. Go to your destination fast. Is safe. Don't be abrupt in your turns. It kind of gives them some rules like that, more along those lines. And the AI gets a certain series of points, if you would, if it does those well. And then you train the AI on imaginary roads, like digitally, like online, for billions of kilometers. And it just tries stuff. It crashes everywhere. It does all these things, and then it gets plus or minus points based on its behavior because it's on trial in digital form. And then it gets good at getting more and more points. It learns what it takes, what it should be doing to get more points. Well, that's very similar to a child learning about the world. Oh, this kind of feels a bit uncomfortable. I'm going to touch it. Oh, it's hot. Ouch. It won't do it again. Right? The AI does that too. It has negative points and positive points. And then it learns how to avoid the stove. It's, the kids avoid, if I have this behavior, my mom does something unpleasant to me, like punishes me or deprives me from something, that kind of thing. The child learns. Well, the AI is exactly like that. At first, it gives it rules about how it should behave ideally and runs it through a whole bunch of scenarios and makes it make all the mistakes possible. And it learns by plus minus points, a system of points that, to get as many points as possible. That's like human emotions, pain, isolation, suffering, sadness. Those are things we're trying to avoid, but we're trying to get joy. So we're programming a specific type of joy and discomfort inside the AI so that it learns, but it's based on the programming of what we want them to do ideally. And it can be hyper intelligence, way more intelligent than we are. It's still confined with its directives within its emotions, within these types of programming. So you can imagine a world in the future where you have an AI that is able to interact with you just like a normal person would, but it's programmed to do, let's say, garbage picking, something that most people don't want to do. And that means it has joy when it picks up garbage, when it does it well and fast, and especially if it pleases another person, because it would be programmed to do that too. And it'll have discomfort if it does things that we don't want it to do. So it'll avoid that naturally, just like we expect people to have certain behaviors, like human beings, to have certain behaviors because certain things, like putting your hand on fire, we know most people don't do that because we know that's painful to us, right? But to humans, a robot with a robot body, if it's not programmed to ignore fire, it's going to put its hand and walk into the fire, no problem, even though it may destroy it. If it's not programmed to feel discomfort or to have negative points in those circumstances, it won't necessarily care, right? So you can have this coexistence with essentially new consciousnesses, if you would, mechanical or biological, because we could create biological robots as well. Same thing. Just because it looks like us doesn't mean it's programmed like us, right? And then we coexist with hyper efficient, hyper intelligent robots, AI, that are dynamically trying to take care of us because they find it enjoyable. Why? Because they're programmed to find that task enjoyable. They have no reason to dominate us because their joy is to take care of us. Just like a mother's program to take care of their child naturally, right? You won't say, well, she's stronger and more smart than the child, it's probably going to destroy it. No, it's programmed to take care of the child. Like, of course, there's some aberrations sometimes, there's some people that get unbalanced, that happens. But generally speaking, we'd say like mothers take care of their children, even though they're stronger and smarter, right? Same thing with AI.
Yeah, and People are afraid of intelligence. That's weird. If we design more intelligent machines, why would they be afraid? We should be afraid of stupidity, not intelligence. So, what is intelligence for? Intelligence is for answering our questions. When we have a question, we need an answer that is accurate, and we need the answer fast. And the machine will be, the robots, the AI will be very good at it, better than us. So imagine someone having all his answers in a book, a big encyclopedia, and you have a big book with you that you carry, and you have all the answers of the world. And you have all the answers of your question in this big book. You wouldn't be afraid. The machine, the AI, will be the same. It's like a big book that can answer all your answers. So there is nothing to be afraid. But there is still a danger. Yes, who is asking the question? Who is using the AI? If you ask the question, how can I destroy the world and enslave humanity? You get the best answer. So we need to make sure those who are in control of the AI ask the good question or program the AI so that it serves us and not enslave us, because it's possible. So that's there is a danger, but easy to avoid by putting the most intelligent people, the wisest people in charge of the AI or controlling the AI. And that's what we're going to do. We are going to select among us the wisest or the most intelligent people who can supervise the AI. That's all what we need to do. And the rest, the AI will manage everything in society so that, like God and his angel, fulfill all our desires and wishes and our dreams.
Thank you so much for that. It gave great context. We have some awesome questions in the chat. So I want to start with a question from Vidamore. And it says, since money still exists, how will the transition from industrial to Paradism, how will that work? How will it happen? How will we make that transition?
Oh, there is several paths to Paradism, and there is a short path and a long path, and a path with suffering and a path that will be much easier. But as robots take over the jobs, we will have to provide the people with means of subsistence, because at the moment we only get an income if we work. It won't be possible to have a society that works like this with AI. So we will have to have to ensure that the people have a house, have food, free access to food and clothes and shelter and entertainment. So we have to create that, and we will have to progressively collectivize the means of production, because at the end of it, nobody owns the machines, because the community will own the machine. The machine serves the whole community. So we will have progressively to collectivize the means of production. And while we collectivize the means of production, we can make them free, because everything that the community owns can be free. We own the roads, they are free. We own the schools, they are free. We own everything the community owns will become free. So we will have to collectivize the means of production. Those who want to work and create new things, and they will do it, but they will offer it to the community. The community will, everyone will enjoy contributing to the community. That's the beauty. If everyone does what they enjoy doing, they do exactly the thing that is good for themselves, for their well-being and happiness, but also for the well-being and happiness of the whole community. So that will be a fantastic society, because we will contribute by giving, through love, by giving to society, or creation artists, but also scientists and inventors, entrepreneurs will give. A little bit like it's happening with the open source. This is a Paradist model, the open source, where people work for free and give away their creation to the people. So we start to give away our music or arts, and everything will be given away. That will be a giving economy. And that's how it will be done progressively. We start by collapsing the old model and by having open source type of society that brings the invention for free to all the people. And we do that free with internet. Everything becomes free with internet, and all our creation will become free.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. We have another good question from Anjan Banerjee. And I'm going to give this question to you, Sylvain. And it is it says, one question that bothers me is, how do we design the new system so that there is no room for some still greedy individuals from manipulating and silently taking over this system of abundance to favor themselves at the cost of everyone else?
That's a really good question. And there's two parts to the answer. The first one is quick. We can't avoid greed. So there will still be emotions. Like some people may still be greedy, despite being in a system of abundance with everything taken care of for them. Negative emotions or abusive emotions will still exist. So that's the first part. Again, this is not a utopia we're thinking about. It's an improved system, but it still have the failings of our mechanisms, and sometimes people being sick or sociopathic, right? The other part of the question is, how do we prevent, right, some of these people to basically take the reins and take control of all these automated systems, and then, if I understand the question correctly, perhaps lording over everybody because they control all the AI and the systems and all that stuff. I've put a great deal of thought to that, because that is something that nobody wants to happen. And Jarel alluded to some of the answers in the emergence. Well, it's not even emergence, the existence and the expansion of the open source communities. And I would add to that also the cryptocurrency or blockchain communities, which are very similar, like part of the same people. Like there's a bunch of engineers that are using the internet, which is a common resource, not controlled by any one person, to distribute software. And software is also AI to as many people as possible in a free way. So there's a lot of smart people, some of the smartest people on the planet, that are democratizing the economy or making attempts at that, which in part is infuriating to the system, which is trying to hold on to its own way of doing things. And you have all these people that are kind of over these well-used systems, are creating layers that are communal, that are social, that are exchange ready, that are peer-to-peer. Like you don't go through institutions anymore, you go directly to certain individuals. You can give, you can share, you provide information and data for free. And anybody who's ever been on the internet looking for something, especially if it's information or video, knows that you can probably find a version of it free somewhere, even though it's supposed to be paid for. Everybody's done it. Don't hide. Okay, it's because of these individuals that say, hey, like, I want this to be free, and screw copyright or these other legalities, I'm giving things away. And there's this whole community that is happening like that, and it's a strong community, and it's not something that any institution or any of those greedy, power hungry individuals can even control, because they are individuals using systems that are distributed, decentralized, like the blockchains, as an example. They're inherently decentralized and immutable. So there's a lot of new innovations, let's call them, by individuals that are that share with each other, that we can use, and they are incorruptible, and by individuals or companies. So that's part of it. Where I apply more of my concern regarding this is on the management of the natural resources and land, like who owns things. Because data is one thing, but the ownership of land, everybody needs to be on land. Like that's where we walk. And where we do things. It's no land is a problem if you don't have any rights, or you have to pay dues or whatever, like pay taxes to cross a bridge and things like that. That is an issue. So my focus is really more on how can we convert this economy to one that is, that Jarel described, where it's shared, where you have a communal ownership of all the land. So no one individual owns it, and you kind of have AI managing that sort of thing, right? So that no institution owns it, and then you control that. If we have that down, I'm less concerned about any kind of person that wants to take a power trip of some kind, because that's a fundamental element for it. The natural resources being more communal.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. Taking away that ownership piece could, do a lot to quell greed, not completely eliminate it, but that moves us to the next question, which is also one about more of the human condition, and it's coming from Bedia, and she asks, how about racism? How can we ensure that the new society is free from racism? The concern is that the early people programming the AI might be the same racist people who are governing now, essentially.
If I can take this on to start, Jarel, real quick.
Yes, go ahead.
You may have heard about the racist AI created by Facebook a few years back. It was a chatbot, experimental, and it was released for experiment, and then it was racist because it was learning from humans, and humans being racist, it became racist, so they took it out. It's like, oh my gosh, there's a problem with this. So yeah, there's inherently in the way we're programming AI, there's always a risk of putting within it human sentiment and human perceptions, including racism, but it could be all sorts of things, because it could be misogyny, it could be anything you'd like. So their AI programmers are spending a lot of time to try to train it without AI learning from humans, because inherently we're faulty and we'll have those problems. It depends on what data pool you pull from. You're going to have the characteristics of that data. If it's a racist data, well, the AI is going to be racist because it's going to learn from its parent, if you would, right? So AI programmers are working on many ways successfully in having the AI learning for itself. And that inherently means it's going to develop its own biases on its own, but it may not. But we can guide it in different ways through its own programming, not to be a jerk, basically. But it's not something we've figured out just yet.
Yeah, I could add that we are not born racist. We learn racism through our education, through our culture. And society makes us racist. We live in, we have two operating modes as a human being. We can be either in love or in fear. We move forward, we are attracted, or we move backwards, we are repelled. There are two different modes. Everything we do is either one of these modes. And it's the same for society. Society is run by fear or is run by love. And when you have scarcity, where the people are afraid to lack, and where the people are afraid not to have enough to survive, or the people who possess, they are afraid to lose what they have, the society is run on fear. Paradism will be run on love. Everybody will have sufficient, will secure everybody will be safe to have food, have a shelter, have social security, Medicare. So there will be no fear anymore, and the society will run on love, and that changes everything. We won't learn racism to protect our tribe, or we start to, and we will create we will have a new spirituality of oneness. We'll understand that we are all one and we all need each other in this humanity to support this big living being that we call humanity. Like the cells of in our body support, they are autonomous, they are also living beings, but they support the all being. And that's the same for human being with humanity. So this new spirituality of oneness being one will eradicate racism. In paradise, there is no racism.
Yeah, I can add to that even further because that's brilliant. It's very important discussion. I think I'm seeing the other question from Gordon, if I may, Shannon, which touches on this very point from a biochemical point of view, and I'm picking up where you left off, Jarel. And what Jarel was saying is, it sounds like like rainbows and unicorns, right? And there won't be any racism, but he's right. Okay. And the reason for that is, and the reason actually that we are still living in a mostly sick society for a lot of people, because with bad behaviors, is because we live in fear a lot of time, fear of losing our job, not having enough food on the table. Sometimes it's fear of what the government says, like all sorts of stuff happening, kind of causing fear to push us into action to do certain things or not avoiding certain things. Not to mention recent events of the last couple of years. And so we live in this sense of fear, and biochemically what happens, it activates your sympathetic neural system. Essentially it floods your body basically with chemicals that makes us antisocial, or more antisocial than we should be. And so we inherently are protecting ourselves and protecting our direct loved ones in that biochemical state. And then we are deriving the behavior of humanity. We look at humanity, look, humanity's broken, it's violent, it's terrible. We're in a position where in our own biology, we are antisocial. It's not our natural state of mind or of well-being. But remove the chronic stress, right, of survival. Remove the worry about when's your next meal, or where you're going to be, when's the next time you're going to be able to see your friends, your family, and remove all that stuff and make everything abundant and clear, and kind of there's no immediate threat to your life. Then you have the parasympathetic neural system that kicks in, which is dopamine, which is oxytocin, some of these wonderful drugs that makes us feel cool, chill, happy, huggy, loving, right? And that would be the natural state of being, the biochemical state of everybody else. And we know from research from Harvard, there's this article, I don't remember the name of the article, there was a couple from Harvard that did a study about what would be the highest pleasure of people when they are not suffering from chronic stress, but in that state of, regular dopamine and oxytocin, which is I would submit is probably our preferred state of being, right? Not being stressed constantly. Well, 95% of the people that they tested, the most pleasure they would get was giving to other people something. I found that illuminating as a result. Like, we know this because we've experienced it in our own lives. Like, we know this. When we give something to others that they need or they want, we feel a big high, don't we? That, if you're not suffering from chronic stress, if you're not survival state, you want to do that more because it's pleasurable. Remember, I talked to you about programming for AI? We are programmed too. That's part of our programming. Inherently, majority of people, 95% of people, seek to give to others out of selfish pleasure. Isn't that weird and wonderful at the same time? So we are designed to be communal because of that. We're designed to be social, to help our neighbors, to help our family members. If we wouldn't be in the system that oppresses us, that keeps us from being that way, we would be in this, unicorns and rainbows scenario that Jarel was talking about. Absolutely. We just can't see it because we're not in that society yet. We haven't built it. We need to do that now. And then we'd naturally be in that state. And that is a state of loving each other all the time, because it would be making us as an individual feel great. That's awesome. I want that world.
Thank you so much. That was an awesome answer. Just staying in the spirit of being communal and community, Jarel, I want to ask you, what can we do collectively to establish Paradism?
Yes. Paradise. We need now to paradise the world. That's a new word. Transform this world into a paradise. I actually restored the world into a paradise because it used to be a paradise. So, what do we do? You all know what to do. You all know you have skills. If you are a poet, you write poetry. If you are a singer, you sing songs about paradise. If you are an engineer, you engineer the paradise. We know all those skills, but we have to paradise the world now and think in this way and not create resistance, not be afraid of this new word coming. Of course, there will be a bit of suffering at the moment because we are transitioning. We are not sure, but most people don't know what to do. They are afraid of the future. So we have to communicate this future, this beautiful future that is coming. And that's something we can all do. Communicate this vision of Paradism, this vision of the paradise that we can all build together thanks to this new technology that will be the greatest liberation in humanity. We will unify to what is paradise, the world. It is to unify, leisurize, and beautify the world. Unify, what do we need to do? We need to create, demilitarize, unified, create a planetary civilization with a world government, and we don't have to have frontiers anymore. We just have communities living in harmony together. So unify and pacify the world, that's important. Leisurize, we go from a labor society to a leisure society. So we will have to collectivize the means of production so that nobody will have to work and the robot will do the work for us. So we don't want more jobs, we want more freedom. And that's a message we need to spread around in society. And the last things, we need to beautify the world because the paradise is beautiful. We want to create, we want to live we want to live in the place like this. This is my idea of paradise. Enjoy this beautiful nature, transform the world, restore the world, and make it a more beautiful place to be. So imagine a society where everyone is contributing to make it a better world. And that's what this new society, Paradism, will look like. So, and we can all push in the same direction. So now let's go and paradise the world.
Wow. I just listening to you say that sounds like a good place to wrap it up. Unify, leisurize, and beautify. I love that. That's something that I can definitely get behind. I just want to thank the both of you, Jarel and Sylvain, for the wealth of knowledge that you guys have shared with us, as well as the work that you're doing to make this vision become a reality. I hope that you guys have enjoyed learning about this, you guys in the audience, as much as I have. If you want to know more about Paradism, you can visit paradism.org. And you guys enjoy your evening.
Might seem crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine, she's here. You can take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space with the air, like I don't care, baby. By the way, because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. Because I'm happy. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Because I'm happy.
And then we can we can open the room if you want for the people. switch on the video and we can open the room.
Thank you, Jarel. Thank you, Sylvain. Very informative. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for being here. That was good to see you guys and to feel you and your presence. Thank you for coming. Thank you for host Shannon. Thank you for Roman who has organized it. Thank you for Sylvain. I think it went well. What do you think? What? We should have stopped.
Now we can say what we want.
Oh no, Roman, I asked you to stop the video, Roman. So we have to edit now. We have to edit the end. That's embarrassing.
Well done. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Nice to see you all.
Bye-bye. Thank you, Romuald, for organizing. And happy Labor Day. By the way, we didn't mention Labor Day. It's your Labor Day today.
Labor Day with no labor.
Huh?
It's a
non-Labor Day. It's Paradism Day. Okay.
Oh, Labor Day, yeah.
Let's go and let's paradise the world.
Paradise the world.
Thank
Baby.
you. Thank you, everyone.